Have you ever wondered why some people stay calm while the world around them burns in chaos? Why they don't lash out, don't explode, don't even flinch, while others fall apart at the smallest insult or inconvenience? That's not weakness. That's not avoidance. That is power. The kind of power that doesn't need to shout to be heard. The kind of power that commands respect without lifting a finger. If you've ever lost control in a moment and regretted it for days, this message is for you. Because what if the real strength isn't in reacting, but in not reacting at all? Most people move through life like ticking time bombs. One wrong word, one unexpected moment, and they explode. But here's the truth. When you live on edge, when your emotions drive your decisions, you're not in control. Your emotions are. And emotions don't care about consequences. Emotions live in the now, not in what happens next. That's why regret is such a common emotion, because it always comes after the storm has passed. There is a quiet kind of strength that few talk about, the kind that refuses to be dragged into drama, the kind that stays still in the face of chaos, the kind that knows its value and doesn't need to prove it. That strength, it's built in the gap between what happens and how you respond. It's built in the pause, in the space where you choose not to react. Not because you're weak, but because you are finally strong enough not to. You see, we're conditioned to believe that fast reactions mean confidence, that quick comebacks show dominance, that yelling louder means you win. But psychology tells a different story. The ones who react instantly, without thinking, are often the ones who feel the most insecure deep down. They fear silence. They fear losing control. So they fight to hold on to it, not knowing that true control never comes from fighting. It comes from not needing to fight at all. Think about the most powerful people in your life. The ones you admire. They rarely overreact. They observe. They listen. And when they speak, their words carry weight. Why? Because they've trained themselves to pause, to step back, to assess, and only then to respond. If it's even worth it. That's not just maturity. That's mastery. Now here's where it gets personal. The moment you choose not to react, you shift the balance of power. Suddenly, you are no longer being pulled by the strings of emotion. You become the one who holds the strings. That's when everything begins to change. Your relationships improve because people feel you're calm. Your confidence grows because you trust yourself to stay centered. Your mind clears because it's no longer cluttered with regret from saying things you never meant. But this path isn't easy. Staying silent when you're disrespected. Pausing when you feel triggered. Walking away when everything inside you wants to explode. That takes real courage. It's not about becoming cold or detached. It's about understanding that your energy is too valuable to waste on reactions. Every time you rise above the urge to respond emotionally, you level up. You train your mind to protect your peace. And once peace becomes your priority, nothing can shake you the way it used to. If you keep watching, you'll learn how to master this mindset. Because in a world that constantly tries to provoke you, staying calm is a superpower. And once you learn how to use it, your life will never be the same again. When you react, you give someone else control over your emotions. That's the harsh truth most people ignore. The louder you respond, the more power you hand away. And the ones who provoke you, they know it. Some people don't want resolution. They want a reaction. They feed off it. They feel important when they know they can shake your peace. And the moment you take the bait, you play their game. Understanding this gives you a choice. You can either be ruled by every emotion that rises, or you can train yourself to pause, to breathe, and to own your response. Human psychology is wired to protect. That's why anger shows up. It's the brain's way of defending the ego. But not every threat is real. Sometimes the feeling of being attacked is just the mind replaying old wounds, not actual danger. And when you act on that feeling without questioning it, you're not responding to the moment. You're reacting to the past. Most people think strength is about winning arguments or getting the last word. Whoa! But real strength is walking away without needing to prove a thing. It's staying rooted in who you are, even when the world tries to pull you out of character. That's not passivity. That's power. Because when you stop reacting to every trigger, you start building emotional armor. The kind that protects your peace, your focus, and your growth. People will always test your patience. Life will always throw something unexpected your way. But not everything deserves your energy. Not every comment needs your attention. And not every situation needs your reaction. The moment you realize this is the moment you stop being a puppet of your emotions and start becoming the master of your mind. Your emotions are powerful, but they are not always right. The brain is wired to protect, not to guide. It reacts first, reasons later. That's how survival works. When something feels like a threat, your body doesn't ask questions. It fires. Your heart races, your muscles tighten, your mind floods with worst-case scenarios. That's not weakness. That's biology. But here's the problem. Most of what triggers us today isn't life-threatening. It's just uncomfortable. A harsh word. A dismissive tone. A look that makes you feel small. And when you let those moments control you, you let your survival instincts run your life. The space between emotion and action is where freedom lies. Most people never create that space. They feel something and they move. They feel anger and they lash out. They feel disrespected and they attack. But if you can learn to pause before the reaction, you take your power back. You stop letting your nervous system call the shots, and you start using your mind the way it was meant to be used. To choose, not to just react. You are not your feelings. You are the one who notices them. And that means you have a choice. You can allow emotions to take the lead, or you can observe them like passing weather. Just because a storm rolls in doesn't mean you have to go outside and stand in it. Emotional discipline starts with recognizing that your first feeling is rarely your final truth. What you feel in the heat of the moment often fades when you give it space. But most people never wait long enough to find out. They speak too fast, they act too soon, and they regret it long after the moment has passed. True power begins when you no longer obey every emotion that rises. When you feel it, understand it, but don't let it make decisions for you. That's the kind of discipline that changes everything. Not just how you handle stress, but how you build relationships, how you grow, and how far you go. Self-control isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about choosing what deserves your energy. It's about knowing when to speak and when silence is louder. The strongest people aren't the ones who never feel anger. They're the ones who refuse to be ruled by it. They've trained themselves to sit with discomfort, to let the emotion rise, but not let it drive the wheel. That's not weakness. That's power under control. And in a world that's always pushing you to react, choosing stillness is a radical kind of strength. When you learn to stay calm, you become unpredictable. No one can manipulate you if they can't provoke you. That's why emotional discipline is so rare. It makes you untouchable. You stop being a slave to other people's behavior. You stop needing approval. You stop explaining yourself just to be understood. You realize not everything deserves your reaction, because not everything is worth your peace. That's when you truly start to lead your life, not just survive it. There's nothing soft about emotional control. It takes everything inside you to feel triggered and choose patience. It takes mental strength to feel insulted and not respond with hate. But every time you do, you reinforce your power. You send a message to yourself that you are not here to be shaken. You are here to stand grounded, no matter what comes your way. You can't always control what happens, but you can always control how you carry it. And that's where transformation begins. When you stop trying to win battles that don't matter, you begin to win the war within yourself. You begin to own your decisions, your peace, your direction. And the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. What once felt impossible becomes automatic. The pause becomes natural. The calm becomes your default. And from that place, you don't just survive moments, you rise above them. Mastering the pause is where your life begins to shift. It's not just about staying calm in difficult moments. It's about learning how to reclaim your mind in real time. When you feel the rush of emotion rising, the urge to defend, to fight, to prove a point, that's the exact moment you have to take a breath. Not because you're afraid to respond, but because you're wise enough to know that not every situation deserves one. That breath is your weapon. That pause is your strategy. It separates you from the chaos and brings you back to clarity. Learning to pause isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It means you no longer allow temporary emotions to create permanent damage. It means you've trained yourself to think before you speak, to observe before you act, and to choose peace over proving a point. That's the kind of mental control most people never reach because they're too focused on the outside world and not focused enough on what's happening within them. The truth is, every situation that tries to pull you out of characters is actually giving you a chance to rise. To prove to yourself that your piece is more valuable than someone else's drama, that your growth is more important than getting even. The moment you feel the trigger and you choose stillness is the moment you win. Not the other person, not the situation, you. And with time, it becomes natural. You begin to see everything differently. You start moving with intention, not reaction. You begin to speak less, but your words carry more power. You stop engaging in things that disturb your spirit. And without even trying, you start leading. Not with force, but with presence. The kind of presence that people feel without explanation. The kind of presence that only comes from mastering yourself.